Ever since a baby, I've been trying to get away, trying to lock in the guap, trying to block with the pain. I'm a blind little boss, I'm on top of the game. I've been plotting a lot, now I'm tossing your bait. Yeah, my pops got caught, didn't lock them away. My mom fought hard 5 jobs in a day. I'll be dropping the box, and I'm copping the pain. We out for the stars of a tropical place. Ooh, yeah, I'm spitting it heavy, the mission is steady. Your bitches are jelly, I'm ditching the petty. You're digging for pennies, I'm itching and ready. I open my heart when I listen to Shetty. I'm bold like a boss, and I'm little like Debbie. I know it's a bronze, I got richer than Getty. I'm holding the guap, and I'm whipping the Yeti, yeah, Kari can play with advanced moves. I'm fucking my girl and her man too. I'm taking the ball like the ran do. My soul is the one that I can't lose. I soak up the sun like a sand dune. I'm holding up love with the bamboo. I'm rolling the blunt by the candle. Taking the game, running it back without taking a drink. Yeah, I'm the one and I'm making a wave. Rolling the blunt and I'm blazing a J. I'm escaping the brain, go straight for the cake. I'ma take to the bank, not taking a break. I'm made for the race, I pray for the day. I wake with a bake in a great estate.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Yankee and the Brit. We are going to talk some AFC North, but before we do, it is now the 17th in the UK, so happy St. Patrick's Day. To everybody in the US, happy St. Ernest Day, and don't get too fucked up tomorrow on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Important note here, Jay. St. Patrick himself, actually Welsh, which is where I'm from. Not Irish, but is the patron saint of Ireland, obviously. He was a Welsh person taken from Wales and sold into slavery in Ireland. By the way,
we're not going to go through on how he's of Italian descent, but we won't get into all of that.
Yeah. It gets strange with all the patron saints of everywhere. But yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Hope you have a good time. How's the? Oh, you don't really drink, DJ. I was going to ask, like, how's the Guinness in the States usually?
I am bougie, and when I drink beer, there's only about 3 beers I'll drink, and Guinness is one of them.
I love Guinness. I've gone off the drink for a little bit just while the world is fixing itself again. But Guinness Zero is my drink of choice while I'm not drinking, because it's the one zero alcohol drink that like tastes like the right thing. And being a British person, you can't go to a pub and drink like a Coke. You have to have like a thing that looks like a beer. You know?
Well, last time we go to the bar, we walk in and I'm like, "Can I get a cranberry juice?" And he's looking at me. And I'm like, just cranberry juice. And then even the bartender started making fun of me, which was completely awesome. Because they're like, so now even the bartender's busting my balls for just drinking and that I ordered cranberry, not like a Coke or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mean vodka cranberry? You mean vodka cranberry? No,
cranberry. Or whatever. Yeah. I just wanted cranberry juice, dude. That was it.
But we'll be going to we also celebrate St. Patrick's Day here in the UK, which is obviously a really weird thing to do for us, with him being the patron saint of Ireland and the issues between the UK and Ireland and all of those kind of things. But we celebrate St. Patrick's Day here as well. We're going to like a folk band, well, I guess tonight, but it's 10 past midnight. We're 10 minutes into St. Patrick's Day here. But yeah, so we'll be doing that. It's exciting. Have a good time, everybody. Drink responsibly, obviously.
You bloody fucking loyalists.
Yeah, well, that is me all over, Jay. I love the monarchy. That's it.
It's the only thing I remember from IRA movies is somebody gets called a bloody fucking loyalist by the time it's over. Like,
I find it fascinating that you watch IRA movies. It must be like one of the only films that banned in the UK we do. Just don't watch those.
They seem to figure out how to fit them into like modern shit. Like Sons of Anarchy were running guns for the Republican or the Irish Republican Army.
Irish Republican Army, yeah. My parents' favorite pub in Manchester was blown up by the IRA. And my mum remembers being in her flat in London when they blew up the BT tower, and like the shockwaves like went through her windows and stuff like that. It's a crazy time, and it's just like not spoken about it in the UK at all. But we're really getting off topic now. Back to football.
Yeah, I could talk about any organized crime all day long, and that's what the IRA is now.
Maybe I should come on Real Talk and we'll have a little chat about the IRA on that one time. Everybody go follow Jay's Real Talk with Jay to get into more of this kind of stuff. Go follow it. It's popping off over there. But Jay, I thought we could start with some news and two people who I hope were kind of drunk when they were posting this on Instagram, but does the drama ever stop in Dallas? What do you make of the DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons beef? For a refresher for our listeners out there, if you haven't seen it, DeMarcus Lawrence tweeted, "Dallas is my home, but I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there." Micah Parsons snapped back and said, this what rejection and envy look like. This some clown shit. I mean, I feel like I sound weird, like not using, like saying it in that place, but yeah. Calling me a clown won't change the fact I told the truth. Maybe if you spend less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left. Jay, what do you make of that between Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence?
I have no problem with DeMarcus Lawrence taking a shot on the way out the door because he wanted to stay and they didn't want to pay him. So he's salty. Okay, feel how you feel. And I like that Micah Parsons stuck up for the Dallas Cowboys. And this is the type of petty I can get behind because it's the offseason. We ain't got shit else going on. And it's just a little Twitter war before dudes who used to be teammates. It's all it is. I'm all for it. And I actually think the most distracting thing for the Cowboys was the dumbass interview Jerry Jones' son, Stephen Jones, did because he talked in circles and made himself sound like a fucking moron. I think that's more of a problem than these two going at it.
Yeah, it's like actually, if they played this off right, this would have been a very welcome distraction for the Dallas Cowboys currently. Like, take the heat off the organization a little bit for the lack of deals. The fan base isn't very happy that DeMarcus Lawrence is gone. I am happy that DeMarcus Lawrence is gone, not because I don't think DeMarcus Lawrence is a good player. And I actually said that Seattle should go and pick him up before they went and picked him up in our show before. But his contract of $18 million a year for a guy coming off a season-ending injury, and I think we can make up DeMarcus Lawrence in the aggregate with more depth at pass rusher. The Cowboys need to become less top-heavy, like they're too top-heavy a team. We have the elite pass rusher in Mike Parsons. We then build around it rather than having two, like one elite and one good pass rusher making pretty decent money on the other side as well. So I agree with them leaving, and this could have actually been a really welcome distraction. And it's the one time I like Micah Parsons tweeting and snapping back. Normally I hate it throughout the season, but I think it actually shows some really good leadership and some really good background. And to be honest, I think it shows some willingness for Micah to stay, and it kind of goes with what he's saying on the contract front as well. So what Micah Parsons has been saying in regard to his contract is, I want to get this deal done. Like, it doesn't have to be the Myles Garrett deal, kind of. Like, he's been saying that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be that. I just want to get this deal done. I want to stay in Dallas. So, however, I do also like Lawrence's saying, if you spend less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left. Now, D-Law, you didn't leave, but you got sacked. But yes.
The thing I'm most impressed with is that you figured out how to use the word aggregate on a football show, but I'm okay. I'm good with that. Look at you, fucking big brains on bread over there. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know why the Cowboys aren't doing shit in free agency either. That's a question that, like, we have to get through. And my question is, how do you feel about the Cowboys at running back now?
I mean, the Cowboys have definitely improved the running back with Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. That is an improvement from last year. I think it's now a good environment to bring a rookie running back into. Like, that's what I think they're trying to do. I think they're selling out and they're going to bring in a rookie running back. Now, I don't think they're going to make a play for Ashton Genty, but if Ashton Genty comes to them at 12, I think they'll draft him. A lot of people now with the Raiders moves and the moves that the Raiders have made have said Ashton Genty looks like he'll be going to the Raiders. But if the Cowboys get to him at 12, then that's fine. That's good. But then there's loads of depth, and I think it's nice for a rookie running back room. But Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, that's a much improved running back room.
Also, I'm not sure that as good as he is, I'm not sure Gentry's the best running back in this draft.
Have you been doing some scouting and you've come back with Marvion Hampton? Is that his first name? I know it's Hampton. But...
Yeah, like the more I watch, I'm like, this kid's fucking amazing. And the competition was higher. And I'm like, and it's not to take anything away from Gentry. I think either would be a fucking score. But I'm just saying, the more I watch, I'm like, I'm not sure he's clear-cut number one in the draft.
Yeah, I feel like we could have a kind of case of Bijan Robinson and Jamar Gibbs on our hands here, where it's who's better, Bijan or Jamar. And it's like, to be honest, like if you put Bijan Robinson in the Detroit Lions team last year, then he's probably also doing the same numbers that Jamar Gibbs is doing as well. And they're just at a level. It's with Hampton, it is how high a draft pick is he worth? Like, how high a draft pick is a running back worth in general? To be honest, I'd rather go get one of the elite D tackles that are there at 12. That's what I would rather the Dallas Cowboys do. And then I'd rather get our running back in the 3rd, 4th round.
These running backs, I think, end up going, like, maybe they go higher, Gentry, maybe somebody reaches. But I think they're more of a, in the 1st round, I think they'll go. But I think they go to a team who's at a point where they're like, we're taking the best player available, or we need a weapon to get over the hump. Those are the two types of teams I think go after a running back. Like, I wouldn't be mad if Kansas City took one of these two guys. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I wouldn't be mad if Buffalo grabbed one of these two guys to pair with Cook. I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah, I think they're going to go. I think they're going to go higher than that. To be honest, I think
Gentry will, but I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see how the rest of them come, because for some reason, and maybe it'll change before the draft, he seems like everybody thinks he's the clear-cut, just a generational running back, and I think they both could be.
I think there's an ability to talk yourself out of Gentry, mainly because of the Boise State connection, right? Like because he played at Boise State, because it's lower competition. How would he have looked in the SEC, for example? Like, how would he have looked in bigger competition? I think you can talk yourself out of Ashton Gentry, and actually Gentry is the best dual threat quarterback in a dual threat running back in pass and on the ground, in my opinion. Is he as clear cut as everybody was saying? No, I don't think it's the case of if Gentry goes to, like, Gentry makes the Cleveland Browns instant contenders and Hampton doesn't, it's not that. It's if Hampton goes to a team with a better run game, then Hampton is going to be the better running back in his rookie season.
It does make sense for the Raiders, though. They have their quarterback. Yes. They have a tight end that's out of this world. You know what I mean? It does make sense to give Geno Smith some weapons.
Yeah, and look, Tom Brady ball, right? Like, it's not about. I doubt Pete Carroll is run first guy. Like, Pete Carroll,
unless it's on the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, unless it's on the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl, Pete Carroll is a run first guy, and it. So I can't see past the Raiders at 6. Do the Cowboys then take Hampton at 12? Like, I think that would be an insane reach, with the fact that those D tackles are going to be on the board. Like, those D tackles are going to be right there for you to take. I think that is a reach. Jay, some other big news coming from your team, the Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Rodgers getting linked with the Minnesota Vikings a lot, man. Like, this is getting more and more spoken about. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Minnesota Viking at the start of this season?
I don't, but I do know from everything I read from Kevin Seifert, Vikings insider, Ben Gosling, all these dudes, they have tossed it around, but it doesn't seem like they want to do it. They want to do what's best for J.J. McCarthy. But I guess the final decision, the ownership and Kwesi said, falls on Kevin O'Connell. Whatever Kevin O'Connell wants, they'll do. If Kevin decides to bring him in, I'll get behind it. I don't love the idea. I know people are like, you're ready to win right now. I just don't think Rodgers, we talked about this. I don't think Rodgers will come in and want to learn a whole new system. I think they'll want him, he'll want them to change for him. And I fuck that. Like it's proven that Kevin O'Connell's system is better than Aaron Rodgers' system. But I don't even think that's the biggest news. I mean, Jordan Mason is a fucking Viking and a two-headed monster behind Aaron Jones, and they're both locked in for the next 2 years. The Vikings still have $32 million in cap space. Next year they have $9 million, and the year after they have $99 million in cap space. Now, granted, they're going to have to sign a couple guys, but still, like, fuck. I think the excitement is like, let's just get past this Aaron Rodgers thing. Let's just put it to bed. Let's say yes or no and move the fuck on, because I think that's why they haven't signed another corner, and it's pissing me off.
Yeah, I think it makes no sense for the Minnesota Vikings to go with Aaron Rodgers. I think it makes zero sense whatsoever. Like, you're on a trajectory of building up dynasty style, and the final piece of that is your franchise quarterback. And by not picking Sam Darnold, you had already decided that JJ was the guy who was going forward. And Aaron Rodgers has 1, maybe 2 years tops. Like 1-2 years tops. You're right, he's not going to want to learn a new system. And by the way, the Viking system also takes away the fact that the quarterback is the star. That's not how the Viking system works. They're either... I don't think it would work out. I think it would all end completely in tears, and you just waste another year of assessment on JJ McCarthy, whereas you can bring out JJ McCarthy. KOC clearly likes him coming out as well. And as you say, Jay, that $99 million, you need to have a decision made by JJ McCarthy by then, because that's the year that you'll be signing JJ McCarthy if he's any good.
Yeah, and now that we're talking about the Vikings, Buffalo Bills report says that they hear the Vikings are close to a deal with cornerback Rasul Douglas.
Yeah, I saw that Rasul Douglas was still out there, and that did surprise me. However, also Chidobe Awuzie has just been released as well, and I'm like, having seen him in Dallas, I'm like, yeah, Chidobe Awuzie, if you need a corner, that's your guy to like go pick up immediately.
And sign Rondell Moore already, Vikings. Fuck, I've been waiting to hear that. Sign him.
All right. Yeah, I saw the news on Rondell Moore as well. I love Rondell Moore. Like I have been so upset about the fact that he hasn't like just kicked on in the NFL. Like I love
Imagine him with so KOC much. And all those weapons.
Yeah, so he would basically take Naylor's job from last year, but he's more athletically gifted than Naylor.
And you trade Naylor.
So that would just be, yeah, exactly. And you get picks for Naylor as well. That would be a perfect move for them as well. But you see what I mean? There's so much for the Vikings to build into. You don't want to then mortgage everything on a 4-year-old quarterback, and I don't think that that's a problem. Like Aaron Rodgers' age, I think he'll. Wherever he goes, I think he'll play really well. I just think the Vikings is possibly the worst fit in the league. Like outside of obviously the people who already definitely have their franchise quarterback. But the Vikings is not a good fit for Rodgers, and it's not a good fit for the Vikings where they're at.
If Rodgers came in and would have, especially last year, instead of Darnold, and went with KOC system, I think he could be amazing. I just don't think he'll do it. And I think that's the problem. And I just want to see JJ go. Let's go with JJ. You loaded up on the whole offseason. The Vikings are in a really good spot in the draft now, even though they don't have a ton of picks. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is doing exactly what he told us he was going to do. He said it was going to take him 3 years to get ready for to finish the rebuild, but it was going to be competitive rebuild. People laughed at that statement and said you couldn't do it, and they've done it. So don't set it back with Aaron Rodgers. Like, you've done it. You've done everything you said you were going to do. We have been competitive, and we were still kind of competitive the year that Kirk Cousins went down, but he was playing at an MVP level. Like, you did exactly what you said you were going to do. Yeah. Don't fuck it up by bringing in Aaron Rodgers. Like, but then if Aaron Rodgers comes in and wins a Super Bowl, I will love that dude forever. So this is just weird. Like, I might turn anti-vax if Aaron Rodgers wins us a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I think it's. I think that was good. I think that the Vikings are just at a perfect place now to plug in JJ McCarthy. Like, it's just, this is the perfect spot. It's everything's perfect. And look, if JJ McCarthy turns out to fucking suck, which I don't think he will, the more that I went back and looked at him leading up to the draft, the more I kind of liked him. And then the preseason, he'd won that job. Like, he was going to start for you last year, and then Sam Darnold, and he got injured, and then Sam Darnold came in. So I don't get it. I don't even understand why they're entertaining it. Like, why haven't they just come out and put it down? Because that can't be good for JJ either, to have the thought of, oh, they're flirting with Aaron Rodgers. Like, am I good enough and all of that kind of thing. Like, they should have been put to bed last week. They should have been done.
Okay, two things. One, they're probably talking to JJ through this whole thing. And two, if you're not thick-skinned enough to handle this, you can't handle being an NFL quarterback. Like, you better be able to handle this. But I just think and I don't know who it'll be, but go get Ryan Tannehill, go get fucking Joey Footsteps Flacco, go get Jameis Winston, and let's just call it a day. Let's move on with a vet behind him that'll be serviceable if you need to use him. I know people say Carson Wentz, but everything I've ever heard is he's a cancer in every fucking locker room he's ever been in.
Yeah.
Except Kansas City, I guess he was good last year, so maybe he's maturing. I don't know. But I just don't want a distraction. I don't want an Aaron Rodgers or a Carson Wentz to come in and kill a fucking vibe that seems to be really good.
Yeah, and you could even, like, I know this would be weird because it's good to have an experienced head in there and stuff, but you could even draft, like, a Quinn Ewers or something, like someone who's, like, going to be a round 6, like
you know what would be amazing? Call Teddy Bridgewater, and he played last year a little. Yeah. See if he wants to come back for one more year. He come back to the Vikings as a backup for one more year. Like, call Teddy.
Yeah, or like, what's Case Keenum doing?
What's Tyler Huntley doing? Like, can we get him for practically nothing?
Yeah, what is Tyler Huntley doing?
I mean, there's got to be something.
He's in Miami.
Right, but didn't Miami just get another guy to back up fucking Tua somebody just recently? They just signed somebody. So maybe they're willing to trade Huntley for fucking practically nothing.
Few things here connecting the Steelers with Tyler Huntley if they don't get Aaron Rodgers.
We'll talk about that more. I like that. We'll talk about that. Yeah.
We'll talk about that more later.
Let's move on from my Vikings because I'm happy, but I could go on all day how they have me irritated too.
Yeah, just the final bit of news before we move into the AFC North then, because actually the AFC North is one of the divisions that has brought a lot of the news so far this offseason. Cooper Kupp, his deal got signed for the Seattle Seahawks. It's here we go. And his deal got signed. The deal is 3 years, $45 million for the Super Bowl 56 MVP. Jay, have the Seahawks overpaid for Cooper Kupp?
That's a real $15 million a year too. That's no fake numbers in that. That's a real $15 million. Okay, I don't know how I'm going to put it like this. Is Cooper Kupp being overpaid for where he's at in his career right now? Absolutely. Did the Seahawks overpay? No. But every other team that was a contender would have been overpaying because he wouldn't have been their number one or even number two, right? So you're looking at, I mean, maybe Buffalo, but I don't know. I like Buffalo's young wide receivers, but I have seen people argue that. But I don't think he overpay in Seattle because you got to give Sam Darnold somebody to throw to except Smith and Jigba because you can just cover him all fucking day. But the Seahawks are doing this weird rebuild right now too, so we got to see how it plays out. And I don't actually, the more I think about it the last couple of days, I don't think any other team had a shot because he's from Washington. He grew up as a Seahawks fan, and he went to Eastern Washington State or some school like that. So, like, I don't think once they offered anywhere near what he wanted, I don't think anybody else had a chance.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I agree. You would have had to put big money on the table to get him away from that deal anyway. And in my opinion, it is big money for like a lot of the people who were that. Like Dallas was really heavily connected to Cooper Kupp, and I was like, that sounds great. It's why I texted you. It's why I messaged in our group saying like, a bit upset that Dallas hasn't got Cooper Kupp. I haven't seen the contract yet. Like Dallas paying $15 million for Cooper Kupp would have been insane. That would have been
talking like six. Like
we're
talking like $6 million, right? So that's why I said to the Vikings. But once
Yeah,
I see
I'd
the
be like,
contract, I was like, mm-mm.
I'd be like $6 million for veteran wide receiver. For it's the big surprise for me is the length of the deal here as well. Like if it was just a 15 million straight up 1 year deal, like that would also make a lot more sense to me. I think a 3 year deal for where Cooper Kupp was last year is nuts to me. Like he looked like he got tired and kind of lost it throughout the year. Like he looked like he lost his step throughout the year. So I was surprised on that. I do, however, think it is good for the Seattle Seahawks. As you said, they need another wide receiver anyway because they've got rid of DK and Tyler Lockett. I think they'll attack wide receiver at some point in the draft. I think they'll go for a big body wide receiver in the draft, and that'll be the kind of DK replacement long term there. But Cooper Kupp is a very similar style of wide receiver to Jackson Smith and Jigba. So you have that veteran presence for Jackson Smith and Jigba, a guy who's done it brilliantly all of his career, has been a Super Bowl MVP, and then you do that for Jackson Smith and Jigba. Then Sam Darnold has a reliable route runner to throw to as well. And Cooper Kupp can still do those quick routes, those underneath routes, which will be really helpful for Sam Darnold when that Seahawks offensive line falls apart because they refuse to fix it.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by I'm intrigued by Seattle's rebuild because in some spots I'm like they've just changed instead of they haven't got worse. They've just changed. They've said, look, it's not working however we've been doing it. So we need to change here. But in other ways, I'm like, but you haven't actually fixed the things that might have been that might have just been about staying. So interesting rebuild. Yeah, completely out of nowhere. Jay, a team that's in a really weird spot is the first team that we'll be covering in the AFC North. This is where we go through the kind of team needs in the offseason for each division. We've done the NFC. If you want to go look at any of those, then go back and look at our NFC offseason videos. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our other videos. But Jay, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals here. The Cincinnati Bengals have an effective cap space of $23.5 million, and they have 6 draft picks, 1 in every round till round 6. But Jay, the big story that is coming out of Seattle, is coming out of Cincinnati at the moment, is about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins getting close to making their deals. Does it make sense for the Bengals to pay both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins top of the market money?
Only because it's what Joe Burrow wants.
Yeah, and how do you feel about like an organization being completely held hostage to their quarterback? Like I don't like that personally.
No, and Joe Burrow gets a lot of love and hasn't done a whole lot of shit, but okay. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's really good, but he gets love like he's like 3-time Super Bowl champion. Like he's Patrick Mahomes walking in and going, I want you to keep T. Higgins. Or like he's Aaron Rodgers back in the Aaron Rodgers days, you know, when he was really Aaron Rodgers. Like and they didn't listen to him in Green Bay anyway, but there were dudes, you know what I mean, could go walk in. He's not Peyton Manning where he's going to walk in there and go, hey, this guy's got to stay, this guy's got to go. But if that's what he really wants, I guess you give it to him. But they have so many fucking needs, like so many fucking. When I'm trying to figure out who I was going to pick for them to draft, I literally had like 6 dudes that they could draft because they have so many fucking needs. I was like, it is crazy. If you look up and down the board, like they need D tackle, they need edge, they need safety, they need linebacker, they need inside offensive line. They need a new coach. I don't know. The whole thing is fucking wild to me.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing there. None of this fixes itself until the coach has changed in Cincinnati. In my opinion, none of this changes, right? And the other biggest thing is when you're doing this, and look, as you can tell, me and Jay don't think they should be doing Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I think we both think that Jamar Chase deserves the top of the market money. I think Jamar Chase is the next wide receiver up. Does that mean the fucking Myles Garrett deal that the Browns signed and it's just going to mess up all the other cap?
Yes, it does.
Which, that's what he's going to go for, and that's on the Cincinnati Bengals for not paying the guy. We knew Jamar Chase was the guy year one. Like, why is it taking this long for them to
What
get it
is
done?
T. Higgins going to get? 28, 30 million a year?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
So
you're going to give Jamar Chase 40
41.
or 40 and a half, whatever gets you over by
Yeah,
a dollar, because that's all that matters to these. It's more the agents, because the players want that guarantee money. The agents want that play money at the end, so they can say. And if you look now, it's gotten so ridiculous. It used to be Myles Garrett signs new deal, 40 million, blah blah blah. Now it's all of that and deal negotiated by CBA or CPA fucking and the agent's name. Like it's a game. But yes, he's absolutely going to get more than fucking Myles Garrett did. T. Higgins, now he's kind of got you by the balls. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to franchise me again next year? Like, and if I'm T. Higgins, I'm pissed off.
Yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals, once they pay T. Higgins, will be committing around $70 million to wide receiver 1 and 2. Like between $65 and $70 million a year. Like $65 and $70 million to wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. And that makes
Burrow 50 plus.
Yeah. Do you know who they haven't signed, though, still? Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Like their actual best player. Their actual best player outside of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. They haven't re-upped his deal, and you won't be able to re-up his deal to what he deserves, because he deserves top of the defensive end market money, which is also now $40 million to do that as well. Like
and you
$50
either have
million
to
on
let him
Joe
walk next year, or you have to trade him. But if you keep fucking around, you're not going to be able to trade him, because nobody's going to have enough room in their cap to get him under if you keep fucking around. And I don't know. And then teams have already allotted a lot of their cash flow right now to what they want to do in the future too. Because my guess is, just using the Vikings, because I know the most about them, I follow the most. They have 32 million left. I think what they'll do is, I think why they're waiting on Rondell right now is because they have to sign him under a certain number, so he doesn't count for a compensatory pick. Yeah, and then I think they'll re-sign in July. I think they'll get Andrew Van Ginkel re-upped because he's on his last year. And I think they want to roll the rest of that money over into next year because they only got $9 million. Right? So there's ways to play the game, but what do you do when you already got it planned out, right? You can't just fuck up your whole plan for the next 3-4 years, even though Trey Hendrickson is really good. So you're fucking yourself by not signing these two or figuring it out, because you're never going to be able to trade the guy because people have already spent their cap money.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got to, like, it's the draft capital that you're wanting to get in return for Trey Hendrickson. The closer that you get, the more desperate you are clearly to get him off the books and not have to release him and stuff like that. Like, you want, so teams that immediately, like, just looking at kind of cap space and teams that make sense, the kind of Cardinals, the Chargers, the Lions have a ton of cap room. Obviously, the Falcons don't really have the cap room to do it.
They could make some room if they would just trade away Kirk for practically nothing, like they're talking about.
Yeah, that's true. They make a bit there as well, but the kind of ones who've got so the Cardinals, Chargers, Titans, like those kind of teams. Like, look, you then want to get 2 first-round picks from them. So you need to get that done now. You need to get that done absolutely right now before they fall in love with the rookies that they want to draft there instead.
Right. And the Titans are never going to give up 2 first-round draft picks because they got the first overall fucking pick. So
yeah, neither of the Patriots aren't either.
Right. So
the Patriots have got Travis Hunter.
So you take this year's second and next year's first, then maybe I wouldn't give that up though. Trey Hendrickson's like 30 also. So like, you don't know when the end is, right? So I'm not going to give him a huge deal and give you massive amount of picks at the same time. Yeah,
so the Bengals have really got themselves in a spot there with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and then Trey Hendrickson as well. And it's just, they're just focusing on retaining. They're focusing on retaining the talent, and it's just, sometimes you've got to let guys walk. Like, you can't have to. It's the fun of the NFL is the cap. Like, the fun of the NFL, one of the best things about the NFL is the cap, and whether you hate it or not, that's one of the best things about it. You can't have a T. Higgins and a Jamar Chase. Yeah. They've got themselves in a really weird position. They need to let T. Higgins walk. They can trade him away now that they've tagged him, but like trade him away for nothing, basically, to wherever the hell he wants to go to. They need to let that happen, and then they need to sign Trey Hendricks because Jay, their holes are on defense. Like they screwed themselves over. Joe Burrow is one of the top five quarterbacks in the league last year in terms of passer rating, total points, like all of that kind of stuff, and they didn't make the playoffs because they can't defend anything. They nearly lost to the shitty Dallas Cowboys, and they would have lost if it wasn't for a weird blocked punt situation. Like the Dallas Cowboys would have finished with more wins than that last year, and they had one of the top 5 offense in the league, and that's where they were. So they need to fix themselves on defense. Jay, with their $23.5 million that they've got left in effective cap and their 6 draft picks, what moves do you think the Bengals should make this offseason?
They definitely need to, like, I don't even know who's all left at safety. I know there's a couple, but you're so far into this. Like, you can't go get a decent edge. You're not going to go get a top flight tackle unless you trade for these guys. Everything they're doing doesn't make any sense to me because what do you do now? They need interior offensive line. Maybe Bradbury's an upgrade. Maybe Minnesota will give you Bradbury for a 6th round pick and you can call it a day because now that they got Ryan Kelly or somebody like that. But everything to me seems to now be you have to trade, right? Because everybody who's going to be a top flight starter is gone. And you've done it year after fucking year after fucking year. Yes, the defense. But how many years have we been doing this, Maddie? And every year I swear we've been screaming, fix your offensive line. And they don't do it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that they haven't fixed it. They've taken this long to fix their offensive line. And it's not.
I think that's the only place they can really upgrade right now, but I don't remember who's still out on the safety board.
Yeah, and it's not that. The weird thing is with the Bengals is that it's not like they've thrown a lot of resources at the offensive line either. Like they haven't. It kind of looks like they haven't actually tried to like fix it at points either. For me, they could still go get Cam Robinson from Minnesota Vikings.
Well, he's a free agent, but he's a tackle. I don't know how much he helps at guard and center. I think that's where they were getting destroyed the most.
Yeah, Tevin Jenkins signed for. Did he sign back with the Bears earlier? These free agency trackers are terrible. Asante Samuel as well is out there, but.
He's going to want $45 million on a contract, though. So,
yeah, like they're in real trouble. They're in real trouble. The thing is, they actually do have quite a lot of options if they get rid of T. Higgins as well. Like Amari Cooper's still out there. Stephon Diggs is still out there. Like there's players and the draft. You can draft loads of players. So who are you kind of looking at in the draft for the Cincinnati Bengals?
So I think they could go with Kenneth Grant. I think they could go with Jahdae Barron out of Texas, the corner. And then they need inside linebacker too, but I think maybe it's a little early. But Gary Zabel out of North Dakota State, I thought they could go with. I mean, and then there's Malik Williams, if he's still there, the edge out of fucking Georgia. Like, I think there's so much that they could like do there. I actually think they're in a good spot because of where the draft is kind of deep to get a really good player right here because there's so many needs on their team. It's almost like if you get a starter, you won the first round because you needed all this help. And I don't see that this is a bad area where they're at to try to fix the offensive line too. I think you either have to go earlier or later because I think you're at a reach at this point. You're taking 2nd round guys in the 1st round almost.
Yeah, I was thinking Tevin Booker out of Alabama, the guard out of Alabama, is kind of falling down and down big boards for as much as I can see. But he's still like the top out and out guard. Like, it's because everybody's projecting these tackles to guard. That's why he's falling down the board. So I wonder how teams feel about projecting the tackle to the guard.
That's what I was going to say. I think he'll go higher than people think with him dropping because he is a true guard.
Yeah, with where they're picking. So in the second round, they've got the 49th pick in the second round. And according to a lot of the big boards that I've seen, that's about right for Tevin Booker, but he is the number one guard, like the number one actual guard. So like he might go higher than that depending on where we get to with that. But yeah, the Bengals can't do anything until they sort out the T. Higgins and the Jamar Chase contracts anyway. And they should walk from T. Higgins realistically.
Yes.
Jay, moving on to the Baltimore Ravens, and the Baltimore Ravens have made a big move in free agency, or a move that a lot of people talk about. But how big of a move is DeAndre Hopkins? How much of a difference does DeAndre Hopkins make to the Baltimore Ravens this season?
Oh, I thought we were talking Cooper Rush. Okay. I think he'll help, but like I said before, I don't know. I don't think he lights the world on fire. I think he'll help, but I still think this team goes as far as the running game, and probably Zay Flowers takes them, right? Because he's got to still be their top wide receiver, and it's a tight end friendly system. It's always good to give Lamar another weapon, and D-Hop is going to catch anything that comes near him. In the red zone, he will be a great help. And he's actually a receiver who will block. So it's a good pickup if you're not expecting – if you're expecting DeAndre Hopkins, you're good. If you're expecting D-Hop, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, you're in trouble if you're looking for D-Hop. But do you know what? I thought that DeAndre Hopkins, I feel like he did offer some good routes to the Chiefs, and I feel like he did make some actually really cool circus catches and stuff like that. I thought it was actually pretty good for the Chiefs. I thought it was just the role he ended up having to play for the Chiefs wasn't the right role. Rashee Rice should have been there. Hollywood Brown should have been there for the whole season. Xavier Worthy should have been there. DeAndre Hopkins should have just been a red zone and third down threat, really, for the Kansas City Chiefs for the whole season. But he was playing every single down. And do you know what's amazing about DeAndre Hopkins? He didn't look out of place. His hair, yeah, but he didn't look out of place doing it. Like, you would think at his age, like the amount of miles he's got on the wheels, you would think that he'd just look off the pace there, but he didn't look off the pace. He just doesn't have the step that he had before. And for the Ravens, they run a lot of two tight end sets, like Zay Flowers on one side, Bateman on the other, two tight end sets with Derrick Henry on the backfield and Lamar Jackson in the backfield. DeAndre Hopkins just has to be a third down and a red zone threat for them, realistically.
Right. It's just because of the name. I think people put a lot more stock in. I think he's a good fit for them, and like it's good. You gotta temper your expectations when it comes to a future Hall of Famer who's getting old.
Yeah, definitely.
Aaron Rodgers.
Jay, are you surprised that Baltimore hasn't attacked the defense in free agency? I feel like their offense was great last season, one of the best offenses in the league, just because of like the star players that they've got in there. Surprised that they've not attacked defense in the offseason to try and get that next step up.
Yeah, I think part of it has to do with they only have $10 million in cap space right now too, so they would have to move things around. I think they're waiting for the third wave to try to get depth for cheap, and but it is weird. Last year, I felt really weird when I was like, their defense is not holding up their end of the bargain sometimes, right? Like the offense was just murdering people and the defense was letting them down. And we're so used to the defense of the Ravens murdering people and hoping that the Ravens offense can score enough points, right? But with Derrick Henry there and the year Lamar had, like they were just murdering people. And then the defense was letting them down. So it's weird. But I think that they're in a weird spot too because they don't have cap space. So I don't know what you do.
Yeah, I think the Ravens and the Steelers both have that about them where they're living off past glories of their defenses being good now, where it's actually, if you look at their defense play for play, it's not that good. The one thing that changed the Ravens season was the move of position for Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton changed their entire defense when he changed position. The one free agent, Jay, that I think they really should go out and get, the Baltimore Ravens, and it makes so much sense. There are two that makes so much sense for the player and makes so much sense for the Ravens. Number one, I don't know if he's retiring. I don't know if he's announced it yet, but Calais Campbell.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew it. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, Calais Campbell to be a Raven just makes loads of sense. One last attempt at the chip there. But Jay, another player that is so little mentioned at the moment, but the fact that he's a free agent, and I hope he's still a free agent when we're talking about this because I just haven't seen his name. Matthew Judon. Like Matthew Judon would make loads of sense at that kind of thing where you're signing, like, it's not Matthew Judon, the New England Patriot from 2-3 years ago, but it's depth and experience. And the reason, Jay, they need experience in this team, the Baltimore Ravens have 11 draft picks going into this next draft. They have 11 draft picks to play with. So you can sign a Calais Campbell and a Matthew Judon and just have them as experienced old heads in the building to look after these 11 new guys. But Jay, what moves do you think the Baltimore Ravens should make in this offseason with their $8.8 million in cap space and their 11 draft picks, including 2 in the 4th and 4 in the 6th rounds?
Yeah, like I said, you get depth in the 3rd round, so whoever's left. And there's going to be somebody left that you thought was going to get paid more, and maybe it ends up being Asante Samuels, right? Maybe you get in the mix, get you some Asante Samuels over there if he's one of the guys who hasn't signed yet. But you go and you get some depth, but I'm trying to look at who I had them going with in the draft. Where did I put my fucking notes here? Oh, yeah. Okay. I have them taking Shamar Smart, Texas A&M edge. Also, I thought about this being a great place for Toledo's tackle, Alexander. I thought that would be a good place for either of those guys go and beef up that defense. I actually should have looked more. I didn't realize they had 11 picks. So maybe they're more confident in going into this draft and getting the depth than actually worrying about spending that money in free agency.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that you can get a lot of secondary play. So where they really struggled is the pass rush wasn't great, but it was okay. But where they really struggled with is in the secondary. So if they come away with, look, people hate drafting safeties in the 1st round. But if they come away, it will be a very Baltimore pick if they came away with Malaki Starks in the 1st round of the draft. That would be a very Baltimore pick. And I'd be amazed if he lasts that long because he's amazing. But people hate drafting safeties. People hate drafting safeties really high.
Wait, and I don't understand that because I, off the top of my head, can go Harrison Smith, Earl Thomas, fucking
Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, Kyle Hamilton, Ed Reed. Like, we can keep going on amazing safeties that have been taken in the 1st round. So I don't understand that. A great safety can change your defense.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like your Shamar Stewart pick as well. That makes a lot of sense to me. 6'6", 290 pounds. Like, that screams Ravens edge rusher all over. Landon Jackson, they can go for in one of the later rounds at 6'7", 280 pounds. Like, they like those kind of edge rushers that are just monsters on the outside. And then you just have loads and loads and loads of cornerbacks that are around that 3rd round. That will be around in the 3rd round as well. So I think they can afford to go take like one of the 2 top safeties in the 1st round of the draft and then go crazy at edge and at cornerback as well. So they're in a really cool position, the Baltimore Ravens, because obviously we're saying, like, we're talking about fixing all these holes. The Baltimore Ravens are an amazing team. They're one of the top 3 teams in the AFC last season as well. So they don't actually have that much to fix, but 11 picks for them to fix it. Jay, the Pittsburgh Steelers off-season needs here. Jay, what are the Steelers going to do at quarterback? Surely that's the first question we have to answer before we talk about anything else Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm hoping Aaron Rodgers. I think it'll be good for them. I think it'd be a good place for him. I don't know why they're not spending money. They got $59 million. Just get the fucking deal done with TJ Watt already. And then I think they also need another. I know they got 2, but I think they need to get more depth at receiver. I know they traded for DK, and then you got Pickens. I think they're short at cornerback and D tackle also, but I really feel like that's a trend when we're talking about teams is everybody needs cornerbacks and everybody needs D tackles.
Yeah, I feel like everybody needs depth at cornerback at the moment because of just how much of a passing league it is. I think we're getting more into the place where you need rotation at cornerback as well to just keep going with those wide receivers like over and over again. Like, yeah, you want your number 1 cornerback to be out there all the time with the number 1 wide receiver, but then the rest of the guys, it's kind of like keep them fresh so they can follow the route. So a lot on the rotation. D tackle has been really weak in the NFL for years, and it's why it's been amazing that it's only taken kind of the Eagles and the Ravens to move back to this running style of football while there's no D tackles and no middle linebackers in the league that can stop the run. It's a symptom of the fact that it became such a pass heavy league and now it's becoming run heavy again. And we need D tackles to stop it.
They're in a bad spot too, because if you take D tackle right at 21, you're reaching. You are so reaching because the top guys are going to be gone. So I don't know what they do there. You could maybe get a corner. This is where I have Hampton going. I have him going to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21. I think that's that's the perfect landing spot for both of them, with Najee being gone and the way they like to run the ball, and you'll help whatever quarterback you end up with. And I don't know. And now, can you even go back to Russell Wilson after all of this? Is that even possible?
Yeah, I mean, Justin Fields left, and it seems like Justin Fields everybody seemed to say that Justin Fields was the guy that you wanted, and he ended up leaving. But I guess if he was the guy that you wanted, then you probably wouldn't let him leave, right? But for them, it's Aaron Rodgers or bust, right? Like, it's the one organization where you think, like, do you know what? Like, Aaron Rodgers makes total sense here. Like, they have no backup plan for anyone younger. So that doesn't matter. It also means they can draft a running back later on and just get a young guy and say, Aaron, this guy's here for when you decide to retire in 2-3 years' time, right? You have wide receivers that Aaron Rodgers will likely quite like in DK Metcalf and George Pickens. And they're that's the kind of wide receiver that Aaron likes. There's like big athletic guys and stuff like that as well. You then have a good coach who will just coach up the defense.
A good comparison to Devontae Adams and Jordy Nelson when he had them.
Yeah, exactly. And you have Mike Tomlin, who's a strong coach, who'll hold his own against Aaron Rodgers and stuff like that, but not necessarily like has to have the big ego around the offense, around those kind of things. And look, the Steelers run a really simple offense. Like, they run a really simple offense. And that's kind of what Aaron Rodgers' system is. Like, there's very little motion, very little trickery in Aaron Rodgers' systems that he likes to run. So actually, I think it molds pretty well. And for me, I think the Steelers are the best organization for Rodgers to go to as well. Does Rodgers want to play outside in the North, like at this age? All of those kind of things. But I mean, he played for Green Bay and he's played for the New York Jets so far. So I don't think that should bother him too much as well. So for me, a quarterback, that's the first question they've got to ask. And it's Aaron Rodgers or bust. And then it's guys like, can you get Russell Wilson back? I don't think it would make sense to do that anyway. Tyler Huntley makes a bit of sense to bring in for that kind of stuff, or Footsteps Flacco or Jameis Winston. But for actually becoming a contender, it's Aaron Rodgers or bust, right?
Yeah, I mean, and you think he gives him the best chance to win, right? Out of anybody who's out there. And let's not forget Freiermuth, because Freiermuth can fucking play. So,
Yeah, exactly.
And their defense isn't awful. Like TJ Watt and those guys can get to the quarterback, which helps make the secondary look less ass than what they are, because they are kind of ass. But that's something like you can fix in the draft too. And if you get Aaron Rodgers and you got cap money, get TJ signed, get Aaron Rodgers in, and go and sign you with Sante Samuel. And if you get TJ re-upped and you get Aaron signed, I guarantee it, free agents want to be there more than they do right now.
Yeah, and look, they may need a tackle as well, which I mean isn't a great position to be in when you're drafting an older quarterback. Yeah, exactly. But they're available. Like, serviceable tackles are available at the moment in free agency with the amount of free agent money that you have. Jay, the Steelers, they have $41 million in effective cap space, and they have 6 draft picks, and it's they've got a first, they don't have a second, they have a third, a fourth, fifth, and a sixth. So that's and a seventh. So that's 6 draft picks. They're picking 21 overall. Who have you got them taking?
I have them taking Hampton out of North Carolina. I think that's where it goes. I think it's a perfect marriage. But then that, again, is assuming that they have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, right? Because what do you do now? Do you reach for Jackson Dart if you don't have Aaron Rodgers? Because what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, go down the Jalen Milroe route and try and up the base with his athletic ability. But neither of those guys are, from what I've seen, neither of those guys should be playing first year.
Yeah, but neither should have Kenny Pickett. Did they learn their lesson? I don't know.
Yeah. But the thing is, they'll have to reach because they don't have the second round pick that it would take to get them, because they've taken DK Metcalf without having a quarterback back there as well. Jay,
you're going to have disgruntled receivers if they don't get Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, because imagine DK Metcalf and George Pickens.
Those 2 guys should be on a flight right now with Freiermuth to Malibu to go hang out with Aaron Rodgers and be like, bro, you got to come to the Steelers.
Yeah, and for me, it makes the most sense. Out of any organization, it also makes the most sense for Aaron Rodgers as well.
It'd be fun to watch.
That Aaron Rodgers could win a Super Bowl in Green Bay and a Super Bowl in Pittsburgh. Like 2 of the most storied franchises in the NFL. That would be pretty crazy as well. Jay, I've got them taking Calvin Banks Jr. to kind of shore up that offensive line, that tackle spot as well. And then later on in the draft, I really like I would, if they could get Jalen Milroe in the 3rd round, I think that would make a lot of sense for them. But I also think that they should go attack Javon Blackman in the free agency market at safety. I like the idea of them taking Asante Samuels at corner. I think that makes a lot of sense for them, as well as being the Pittsburgh Steelers. They need to up their defensive side of the ball.
If they wait and don't take a running back, I think in the 3rd round, a guy to be looking for is Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, and that's what I mean about this running back class, right? Like, Caleb Johnson would be the top of last year's running back class. Yeah, Caleb Johnson would be a guy that would be towards the top of last year's running back class. Of course, Bucky Irving came out and played amazing, but he was just tipped as a 3rd round draft pick, like as he was going through. Like, no one thought he fell particularly far in the draft as well. So Caleb Johnson would be at the top of last year's. Jay, the Cleveland Browns are doing Cleveland Browns things. They're in a Cleveland Brown position. They're paying a lot of money at the quarterback position, playing now a lot of money at defensive end. They currently have $4.5 million dollars in cap space, whilst also having a roster so holy they could call it the Pope, right? Like that's how holy their roster is, and they only have $4.5 million in cap space. Jay, have you changed your mind about the Myles Garrett deal?
No, it doesn't. It still doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me for him or for them. Well, for him, the money, I get that, but football wise, it doesn't make sense to me for either of them. And and money wise does not make sense to me for the Browns. They have so many issues, and your fucking solution to fix all your problems is Kenny Pickett. This is your fucking solution.
Is it the solution to fix all of their problems, Kenny Pickett? Is that what they're trying to fix, or is it Kenny Pickett is serviceable enough to get us to next year?
He's not though. Like, fuck. DTR is going to go to fucking Philly, and he is going to learn how to play quarterback, and he is going to be so much better than Kenny fucking Pickett. And I don't know what fucking Kevin Stefanski's doing. Kevin Stefanski was supposed to be coming from Minnesota, the quarterback whisperer and all that shit. And he fucked it up with Baker Mayfield. Baker was playing good, but they fucked that whole thing up with Baker Mayfield. Deshaun Watson forgot how to play football after rubbing his dick on people. And then you fucking Jameis Winston's just Jameis Winston. So what the fuck are you going to do? You just know what you're getting from Jameis Winston. And you had Joe Flacco, who played fucking amazing, and you just let him go because you didn't want to make Deshaun Watson feel like there was a competition. There wasn't. Joe Flacco was better. I don't even know what the fuck you were doing. And now your solution to this whole fucking problem is Kenny Pickett. I am so fucking baffled.
Yeah, I think that they're in the. I think Cleveland they're done with this season already.
They have to take the quarterback, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if they do have to take the quarterback because what is it? It's Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. That's it. That's who it'll be, right? Neither of them want to be there. Like neither of them want to be in Cleveland. All the other teams that are going to be around them are a better pick. What they could do is trade back from 2 for a team who really wants to get Travis Hunter. Like, would that make loads of sense? But just trading back for them actually makes sense. They have 10 draft picks already, so they have 10. So
but if the Giants, the Giants really want Shedeur, you know what I mean? You don't have to go back that far. With the thought that everybody thinks that Ewers is going first. So I don't know. But you said they already have enough. They don't. That team is so shitty and so in cap hell. You can never have enough draft picks right now. Yeah,
and what they do have, so they do have some good draft picks, but they're actually like 3 round 6s, which that's not doing anything to help Cleveland now. Realistically, like 3 round 6s, like that's where the lottery really begins. That's where you get.
You could fall back, pick up a first next year and a second this year. Like you're in cap hell for the next 2 or 3 years because of the void years. Like you need as many fucking good players as you can get. Trade back with somebody who's not too far back, like maybe the Giants, because from what you hear. The Giants want Shedeur. Shedeur wants to be with the Giants. It sounds like it's a matchup. So, there you go. Trade back with them.
Yeah, I think they're in the quarterback market for next year. I think they're just writing off this season. I think Kenny Pickett is a serviceable enough backup quarterback. Like, he looked decent in the Eagles, but obviously that's the Eagles and he's now at the Browns. So he's going to look terrible at the Browns, but that's because Kenny Pickett is between... Yeah, he's in that range of 30 to 37 of quarterbacks in the league and stuff like that.
Nick Mullins is a better fucking quarterback than Kenny Pickett. That's a fact. Look at Nick Mullins throws for 400 yards, all those touchdowns. Like, and nobody's ever said Nick Mullins should be a starter except from when he got forced into the role in San Francisco when he was a rookie, right? That he was a rookie, I think. Like, dude, this Kenny Pickett is so bad. He's so bad. I would go get Nick Foles out of retirement before I play Kenny Pickett. Like, what the fuck are...
Jesus. Deshaun Watson doesn't come off their books until 2030.
No, what happens is his last year, which is 20. No, what happens is this is why they're fucked. So his last year, active year, which is what, next year, 2026?
2027, I think he's still active technically.
Then everything from that's left over on comes due. Boom. The second he's off your team. The second he's off your team, every dime becomes due of those void years.
Yeah, he'll have $53 million in dead cap in 2027 if he's cut pre-June 1st. That's what. So they're just screwed. So I think they're not in the quarterback conversation for this year. I think they're in almost the best player available conversation for this year. I think like a trade back, just saying we're going to take Shedeur Sanders and trade him to you for this much, or you can trade us the pick for this much to the New York Giants. And like obviously the trade is a better deal. You made the better deal for them, so you don't have to go through the whole we pick Shedeur Sanders and we do the trade and stuff. Right. That's what I would be saying to the Giants at that point about Shedeur Sanders. Trade back and take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, like those kind of guys. From there, they also really need help at wide receiver. They also really need help at cornerback. They need help absolutely everywhere. So, but if I'm them, I'm taking best player available, and then I'm taking Arch Manning next year. However, Arch Manning won't want to come to the Cleveland Browns either, and the Manning family don't put up with no shit either.
They're already Arch is already talking about not coming out next year and staying for all four, because you only get the college experience once, and they're getting paid all this NIL money, and why rush out? And then my thing is too, so if Shedeur's people are like, don't draft him, he is not playing for Cleveland, you know that they're saying the same thing about Travis Hunter then, because Deion said he was going to take care of Travis Hunter too in this whole process. So like they might be telling them like, Travis ain't playing for you.
I wonder if it's the same for a cornerback though at Cleveland because of that. Because
the team itself, the ownership, the culture.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. And they're a dysfunctional franchise, and they have shitty ownership.
Yeah, weirdly, the Browns' defense isn't actually terrible, but that's largely due to the fact that Myles Garrett just completely comes and wrecks everything for every other team. And actually, the Myles Garrett $40 million deal is pretty egregious because no one else was talking about that at all. Like, Myles Garrett wanted to be traded until you just put this absolutely ridiculous contract on the table for him. And fair play to Myles Garrett, it's difficult to turn down $40 million.
Deshaun Watson told him no thanks, and they're like $250 fully guaranteed or whatever it was. And he's like, I love Cleveland, you know. Yeah, that's like the end of the Drew Carey show. Cleveland rocks. Like
the Myles Garrett deal is only really bad and totally crippling because Myles Garrett does make up for a lot of holes on a defensive side. It's only crippling when you pair it with the Deshaun Watson deal, like, and the fact that and it's not the same as like what we were talking about at the start of the show with the Bengals, where if the Bengals do this, at least like it would be crazy to do and commit $70 million to wide receiver 1 and 2. But at least then you arguably have the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. Obviously, it's an argument. There's Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. There's other wide receiver duos out there, but it's
not even an argument though. Do you think T. Higgins is better than Jordan Addison?
No, I don't.
And imagine JJ is the best receiver in the NFL, so it's over. Like,
no, I don't. But people can argue. My point is, at least they then have assets for that money. Right. The Browns also have a quarterback who can't play and shouldn't play football for them ever again, and is still crippled by his cap numbers. So then they have to invest money in that position, and they have to invest draft capital in that position, and that's what makes the Myles Garrett deal terrible. And yeah, there's not much that. Look, with 10 draft picks and possibly more if you're trading back, you can have a really good draft class, and it can be the start of rebuilding for the Browns. But Browns fans, this season isn't your year, and to be honest, you should hope that it's not. Like, you should enjoy the tank from the beginning. Like, embrace the tank from the beginning. Go have a laugh. Look out for your rookie players and stuff like that. Like, say, oh, I know we lost by 30, but that rookie player played really well. Like, you do that rather than give a shit about winning.
As they say in the army, embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. That's exactly what I mean. Jay, just to finish off the show and finish off all of these shows, we give off our way too early division picks. So what is your way too early AFC North division picks? We'll go from worst to first.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say that the Browns were winning it, and then it was going to be over. And no, the Browns are the worst. I don't think there's a discussion in that. I don't know. Like, I think if the Steelers get, I'm gonna be real hedgy right here. If the Steelers get Aaron Rodgers, they beat out the Bengals. If not, the Bengals, so they could be interchangeable. But right now, without Aaron Rodgers, I'll put the Steelers. Then the Bengals. I got the Ravens winning it. But I really think Aaron Rodgers, and I don't have any faith in the fucking Bengals. They're going to come out. They're going to lose fucking 4 out of their first 6 games. And then they're going to be trying to figure out how to make the fucking playoffs.
And they're going to have to win games like 52-50. Like, that's
right.
Just the way with that they're building their roster. Yeah, I'm going to say Browns at the bottom. And then I'm going to say the Bengals, and then the Steelers. I'm going to assume that the Steelers get Aaron Rodgers, because I think it would just be insane.
See, I'm with you. If you get Aaron Rodgers right there,
else.
But if they don't,
then
hey, I don't think Carson Wentz would be the worst idea either, though.
Yeah, exactly.
People forget Carson can play.
Is Carson Wentz a cancer if he's starting at quarterback?
And hopefully he learned something through all of this, being with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and that team. You know what I mean? Hopefully that helped him learn something.
I've just had a really fun idea that definitely won't happen. But what do you have to send to Indy to get Anthony Richardson? And put Anthony Richardson in there. Now that they've got Daniel Jones, they've decided that they're going to take Daniel Jones down there. Like, how much is it to get Anthony Richardson out there would be interesting, I think, as well. Because, look, the Steelers, with the wide receiver room that they've put together, should have Pat Freiermuth is the possession tight end, and then everything else is a bomb, or they're running the ball. Like, that's the Steelers' offense going forward. So I think that would be interesting. But yeah, I'm going to say that the Steelers get Aaron Rodgers, because it's the only move that makes sense in my head for Rodgers and the Steelers.
One last thing about the Steelers. This is just a bold prediction, wild, but I can see this happening. They get Aaron Rodgers and they get TJ Lockett. Boom. There you go. Steelers offense ready to go.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth. Yeah, that's pretty tasty. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. There you go.
Yeah. That's pretty tasty. Only the Steelers could make that offense look boring. As well. And to top it all off, they hire Matt Canada back as offensive coordinator.
Oh, stop. Get out.
It's okay. Arthur Smith Jr. has all of these weapons, and he'll throw to he'll make sure that he gets like some. He'll be the guy that signs for Jalen Naylor, and he'll just throw everything to Jalen Naylor the whole time from Minnesota as well.
Maddie, every other year, Maddie loves and then hates Arthur Smith. Every other year.
I like Arthur Smith as an offensive coordinator. I'm being mean, but I like Arthur Smith as an offensive coordinator. I don't like him as a head coach. But Jay, yeah, I think it's the Ravens division to lose, right? Because they're the team that is doing the most in off season to actually get better. Like all the rest of them are just trying to keep hold of their players. The Browns, for some reason, trying to keep hold of all of their players. But everybody's trying to keep hold of their players. The Ravens are the only ones who've made any strides to get any better. So I think it's the Ravens division to lose. Really enjoyed that. The AFC North is always a really competitive division. It's one of the most storied divisions in the NFL. So always fun to talk about. Jay, send us out like you always do.
And if the Steelers don't get Aaron Rodgers, that division's going to suck balls this year. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe. Hit the notification button. Give it a share. Check out all the other shows. Check out Zuel-world.com. All right, until next time. One world, one love. Deuces.